I can't tell you how many times I've heard providers just get all out of whack because they are having a state survey. Well, I am Nichelle and I am from Passionate CNA Home Care Service LLC. We are based in the Winston-Salem area and in North Carolina. So I am going to tell you what happens during a state survey, whether it's your initial survey, whether it's a complaint survey, or whether it's your 3 year survey. I'm going to show you and talk you through what to do. The first thing you need to do is calm down. Calm down. Because regardless of the fact, it's going to be okay. So, you open the door. It is the state. You allow them to identify themselves, not by just mouth. You need to look at their badge. You need to make sure of who you are talking to, who you are giving your files to. Now, a lot of people say, okay, Nichelle, that's a little excessive. No, you would be so surprised how many people actually try to pretend like they're the state, and then they're just there to get information from you, get information about your clients, get your files, and then they gone. Or they're trying to get a active license to go and start a company somewhere, and you thinking you only got one company, and here it is, somebody in Bawa Boo got your license and they running a company. So you better be careful. You got to be careful. So after you identify the state, you identify yourself. Make sure that you have your home care license where it can be seen. Do not put it in a drawer. Do not put it on a wall in the back of your office. Don't do that. As soon as they walk in the door, your home care license needs to be shown so they know that you are licensed. That's one of the first things they look for. If you tell them, oh, I have to go get it, you are guaranteed to get a citation because it's supposed to be shown where it and seen. So as soon as somebody walks in your home care agency, they need to be able to see your license. The state, clients, employees, they need to see that you have a license. So the next thing is, if you're not the agency director, you're not the RN, you're just maybe the office manager or the secretary, you need to get on the phone with the agency director to let them know that the state is there. You need somebody that knows the policies and procedures of your agency. You need to have somebody there that can maneuver, that knows what's going on in the agency, the ins and the outs of the agency, that can get you through this survey. Not necessarily your RN right now, but just like the agency director or office manager, somebody that knows the client files, the employee files, and what should be in there. Okay, so now that we've done that, you allow them to come in. You should have a space prepared for them, table, chairs, a well-lit area. And this is a little side note. When you got your home care agency license, you told the state that you would be open from this time to this time. Well, with that being said, the state is going to come in between those two times that you gave. For whatever reason, if you leave your office or whatever, you need to have something on the door letting people know when you're going to return, if it's in those hours. If it's from 9 to 3 that you say you're going to be open and you left at 1 because you had a headache, you need to put something on there to let people know when you're going to return and how to get in touch with you if they do. Because if the state comes and they knock on that door and you don't open it, or somebody does not open that door, and they're not enabled, they call your agency, nobody answers the phone, they don't have another way to get in touch with you, that is an automatic citation. And depending upon the surveyor, they have the option to just write it up as a refusal. And a refusal to have a site visit is automatically a citation and can close your agency. So keep that in mind when you're making the times that your agency is going to be open. Keep in mind, you need to make sure that people are able to get in touch with you if need be, especially the state. Okay, so you have the table, you have a well-lit area, you allow them to sit down. They're gonna ask you a few questions, especially if you're the agency director. They're gonna ask you when you became the agency director. Have you been the agency director the whole time? What is your policy on discharges? What is your policy for complaints? What is your policy for this, that, and the third? They're going to ask you about your policies just to see what you know, or are you just oblivious to it. Once they do that, they're going to tell you, we're here because it's your initial visit. We're here on a complaint. They're not going to tell you who complained, but they will tell you that they are there on a complaint. Or they'll tell you it's your 3-year and not annual, because annual is yearly, but your 3-year visit. So they'll tell you that, and then they're gonna give you a sheet like this. It'll have your agency name on it, and then it'll let you know the things that they'll be looking through, they'll be going through. Like the first one is your client roster. They're gonna ask for a active client roster. They're going to ask for discharges as well. So you need to have your client roster active and discharged for the last year. Employee roster active and discharged for the last year. A list of discharged clients from the last 6 months to a year. Documentation of complaints for the past 6 months. Policy and procedure manual, the agency director's employee file, the RN's information. They also will look at your annual program evaluation, client records and reviews, any incidents where you reported somebody to the state. They want to see that. And your in-service and education. And they can ask for other stuff, but that's the basic stuff that they will ask for. So once they give you this, and you give them the roster for your active clients and your discharged clients and your active employees, now every now and again they want to see not discharged, but terminated employees. So that's how you will kind of know. If they ask you for if they ask you for a file for a terminated employee, that lets you know the complaint came from a terminated employee, because they usually never ask for that. They usually just ask for your active client roster. Okay, so once they tell you that, they're going to look at the roster and they're going to choose the people. Okay, so here's how you figure out if it's a complaint. One, they're going to ask for 3 active clients and they're going to ask for 2 discharged clients, right? So if they are horning in on one particular client, then you know that's the client that made the complaint. It never fails. It never ever fails, because they will horn in on that one person, and it just you know. I guarantee you'll know. Okay, now so you'll prepare. Say they ask for 3. They ask for 5, and then they'll ask for the active employees. So you give them all the information, and then they have a checklist that they'll go through to make sure that you have everything in there. They'll look at their sheet. They'll ask you for your policy and procedure book as well. So when you give them that, they'll look at that plus what you have. So say your policy and procedures for admissions to clients says that you have something in there for clients' rights. So they're looking on their sheet, okay, it's supposed to have clients' rights in here. Their policy said it's supposed to be clients' rights in here. Let's see if they have clients' rights in there, in the folder. So they'll look for that. So once you give them all the information, if there are things that they ask for that you don't have, don't say you don't have them. Do not say that, especially if it's something that you can't get. Always, always say, let me see. Let me see. Because sometimes it's stuff that you can type up right quick and give it to them and be like, oh, I just didn't put it in there. Now, stuff like TB tests, you just butt out on that. You could try to get it in, but most of the time you're going to get a ding on it because it's not in there. But depending on your surveyor, most of the time they will allow you to get information that you don't have in your files correct. And they'll, before they leave, because they're usually in there from 1 to 2 days. And they'll tell you that's how long they'll basically be there or whatever. That's how long they're planning on being there, depending on what they find or whatever. But make sure that you never say you don't have anything. Just skim your way through. If it's something you could type up real quick, something you can write out, write it. Write it, write it, write it. Fight for your company. Fight for your agency. Do not just let them people scare you and think you can't get stuff done. You can get it done while they are sitting there looking through things. If you know that there are things in your files that is not correct or where it should be, while they in there looking through stuff, you go ahead and get your stuff done. But now you can alleviate all of that by doing a chart audit on your employees and your clients. You can alleviate having to put this in there, put that in there, or whatever when you do an audit. But you need to keep up with everything. You need to do a 90-day audit on your clients and your employees. And you need to keep a record of it because that's one of the things that the state will ask for. They want to see that you're reviewing your employee files, you're reviewing your client files to make sure that you are putting the stuff that in there that needs to be in there. That you are making sure that you understand and you know the things that are going on in the home care industry and that you're keeping up with stuff. So, like I said, they'll be there from 1 to 2 days. They may ask you to make a copy of something. They're going to ask you questions when they don't understand something that you may be doing. They're going to just go through your records. That's basically what they're going to do. So once they have done that, once you've given them everything that they asked for, you will have an interview with them on the last day. On that day, they'll give you this sheet. And I covered it up because it'll tell you who they actually saw. The top part will be clients and the bottom part will be employees. So they will go through with you what they found, whether they cited you on it. A lot of times they won't cite you. They will give you information and they'll give you credit for having part of something and not all of it. They'll give you partial credit for it. But you want to make sure that you have everything in there, that they don't have a reason to cite you on anything. And they will go through each and everything that they looked at, what you were missing, what you had in there. If you had everything, they'll just go by it, go on past it. They'll tell you the client's folders that they looked at. They'll tell you the employees' folders that they looked at. And then they'll let you know if you got a citation. They'll let you know that what's going to happen next is you're going to have to do a plan of correction. A plan of correction is only you writing what they wrote, basically, and telling them how you're going to change things. Like, say for instance, you got a citation for not having a TB test in for an employee. What will happen is they'll say the regulated state rule that, they'll put the state rule on your plan of correction. And then you have to say why this situation happened, why wasn't the TB test in there, when you corrected it, and how you are going to prevent this situation from happening again. And after your survey, they'll tell you that, and then they'll thank you, and they'll go on about their business. But I want to stress to you, even though you had that survey and you could get your plan of corrections will come from anywhere from 3 days to 3 weeks later. When they are talking to you and summing everything up, you need to take notes, especially if you got something on a citation. You need to take notes and be ready to correct those things. Don't wait 2 or 3 weeks, or don't wait until you actually get the plan of corrections to be trying to correct things. Because if, say, today is Wednesday, and say between Wednesday and the 3-week period for your plan of corrections to come, you got 4 or 5 complaints, then guess what? The state is going to come back out, right? And the same thing you got deemed for before will be deemed to you again if you don't go ahead and correct it. So if you have a survey on Wednesday, I know you probably be a little stressed out, but by Thursday, whatever you got cited for, you need to be correcting it by Thursday. So in between, if you get a complaint or whatever, because they won't, if they did an evaluation on you, like a survey on you, like today, they're not coming for a minute, especially if it's your annual. They're not coming for a minute. But if it's a complaint, they will come back and just check to see if you did anything. So when you are if you've been cited or anything like that, you need to be ready, prepared for them to come back, because they will come back to just make sure that you corrected the stuff, that you're actually doing it. Whenever you do a plan of corrections, the state will be coming back. They're not going to let you know when, but they're going to come back. It'll probably be your 3-year visit. They'll come, but they'll already know, okay, we cited this agency on this. Let's see if they still doing the same thing, or have they changed and are doing better. But you need to make sure that you know your policies and procedures, that you are keeping up with your policies and procedures, that you know what's supposed to be in your client files, what's supposed to be in your employee files, that you know what's in your policy and procedure book. If you know these things, you will make it through your state survey. If you don't have the things, like I said, you can get them in there while that state survey is there. They do allow you to do that. Now, you can't forge no signatures or nothing like that, but if it's, say, a policy on clients' rights, and you may have had A, B, and C, you didn't have it in there, but you got it, you can give it to them. You can put it in there. And like, say they there on a Wednesday and they leave for the evening, and they say they're gonna come back on Thursday. If you know it's stuff that you ain't got in there, that you ain't get signed by an employee, or you didn't get signed by the client, You can go take that stuff to them people, get it signed, and have it in there by the time the state representative comes back. And then if they already deemed you for it and you got the information, the stuff in there, they will take it off. Most of them are really, really nice, but that's how you get through a state survey, and that's everything that they want, what they're looking for. They really just want to make sure that you are following the rules and regulations and you are doing what you are supposed to do. So if this information was helpful for you, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and follow me on all of my social media at Passionate CNA Home Care Service. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.